we need to talk about the allegations against Paul Klein and his band LANY. This indie pop band has a toxic culture where women are second-class citizens. Paul's in denial is causing frustration amongst fans, and now this band is going on a world tour. So it's time to warn the world. So let's get into it. Before we get into this video, I want to give you guys a major trigger warning because we're going to be talking about some disturbing things involving Paul Klein and his band LANY. You guys may recognize Paul because he was dating mega superstar Dua Lipa at some point. Thankfully, Dua got herself out of that relationship, and actually his ex-girlfriends have a lot to say about him on Twitter. One ex tweeted out, "If you call yourself a good guy, you're probably not a good guy." And then they responded to another tweet that said, "All I'm saying is no one in my group chat would dare listen to Malibu Nights again," which is one of LANY's most popular songs. Another ex tweeted out, "If you walked away from a toxic, negative, horrible, one-sided, dead-end relationship, you won." So those are a couple of tweets from some exes about Paul, but who really is Paul? He was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's currently 33 years old right now, and he's definitely best known as the lead singer and guitarist of the band LANY. Actually, in this little Wikipedia description, you guys can see that many people still recognize him as Dua Lipa's ex-boyfriend. His band's name is LANY, and the reason why they have that name is a nod to Los Angeles and New York, so LANY, which I guess it's kind of a cool idea, but at the same time it's kind of not really personal unless they're from there, but he was from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Anyways, this band actually went on a world tour back in 2016, so they've been in the industry for quite some time, and they've been doing pretty well. That is until now, of course. I mean, well, their music is still doing well, and they are going on a world tour, which we will talk about at the end of this video, but we need to talk about the allegations against Paul Klein, because he's over here limiting his comments and, blocking comments and not allowing people to speak the truth about what he has done to multiple women. And today I'm going to walk through these allegations, but I cannot prove that these are facts, so I'm going to give you a disclaimer that I believe these experiences of these survivors of Paul Klein, but I don't want to go and get sued by him. So we're going to call these allegations, we're going to say allegedly, because we can't fully prove this in the moment, but nobody's talking about this. When you go to Google the allegations against him or about LANY, nothing comes up, and I think it's important that someone speaks about them. So many of you guys sent me this Google Doc that explains everything that he has done. I'm going to link it below, and we're going to go through this Google Doc today and talk about exactly who Paul Klein and the band LANY really is. If you do want to follow along with this video with the Google Doc below, I encourage you to check it out and read everything for yourself. This user on Twitter named Haley has done a ton of research and has allowed a safe space for survivors to come and explain to her what they have gone through. So kudos to her for standing up for these people. And now let's go ahead and get into allegation number 1. This went down in 2019, and they claimed that they believe Paul was very manipulative and uses his fame to get to young girls. They met after one of his shows, and he actually posted a picture of them holding hands on his Instagram story. They later on DM'd, and then he asked for her number. As soon as he got her number, he texted her, and the first thing he wanted was pictures of her feet and hands. She shares about a time where his tour manager came and got her at the end of a show to come backstage with him, and then things got really weird. He allegedly messaged her telling her that they're going to have crazy you-know-what, and asked her if she was on birth control. She said no and asked, can they use protection, because she wants protection. He said that he doesn't like doing it with protection, and it made her feel very uncomfortable. And he actually told her that she should be on the pill by the next time he sees her, telling her that she needs to go be on birth control because he doesn't want to wear protection, which that sounds awful. Supposedly, Paul asked this girl for her address to send her merch, never sent her merch, but they were hanging out. She was about 20 at the time. She went to some bar with him at one point, and it got weird because she said that she went to like another concert. He got super jealous, and she claims that he would make her feel special for a week, and then the next she would not hear from him. I'm still thrown off by the fact that he said she needs to be on the pill by the next time he sees her. Like, how are you going to tell a woman what to do with their body? That's like the first rule you never break. Here are actually some screenshots of messages between Paul and this person, and he's definitely being very flirty with her. Thank God she is of age, so that is a blessing, but nonetheless, he's extremely manipulative, and it's clear to me that he's definitely using his power to get women. And here are messages between the tour manager and with Paul, showing that moment where they asked, her to come back behind stage, it did happen, and here is some of that proof. Now let's talk about the second allegation that we have against Paul. This went down in 2019-2020, and this is an example of the emotional manipulation that Paul would put some of these women through. This person shares how they had a relationship with Paul. Of course, they were above the legal age, thank God. They're 20 years old, but keep in mind that he's like 30 years old at this time, messing around with these 20-year-olds, telling them that, that he really likes them, and he's taking them, to go to the bars, to hang out, possibly go to trips. This person claims they went on a trip with him, and then afterwards he ghosted her. At one point, he was trying to convince the girl to come and live with him, and then after that, 2 weeks later, he actually had a new girlfriend. They share that many times we talked, he made me feel like I was stupid and an idiot, when in the reality, I was just 12 years younger than him. I don't believe he's a bad guy, honestly. I think he just takes advantage of people since he can. Now I realize how wrong it was for a 32-year-old to date a 20-year-old with his power over people. This person also shares that they believe the band was just dating a bunch of women at the time. Actually, one of the band's wives didn't like that all these young girls were around at all the time. So at one point she had to hide during a resort trip with the rest of the team. But it seems like this is just the culture throughout the band and with all of the tour people and people who work on production. And if you guys want to pause to read, these are some screenshots that this person provided, messages on Instagram between them and Paul. Now let's get into our third allegation against Paul, and this one comes from someone who he actually dated for 4 months. This went down in 2019, and they claim that he was really emotionally hurtful. They met through mutual friends after one of his shows. The first night they met, he tried to pressure her into doing things that she did not want to do, which is not cool. The next day he was texting begging to go to his other show and telling her that he loved her. It was very weird and intense because it was really overwhelming, and he would just yell at me on the phone to say it back. About a month in, I kind of pieced together that he was talking to other girls. There was a few I was suspicious about, and he invited all 4 of us to his shows. They claimed they were sitting next to one of the girls at one of his shows, and it was so weird. And the next night, they went into his dressing room and he had that person there. I had found out through mutual friends that they had been talking and she was just 20. What if this was the other person from the other allegation? I confronted him about it and he said I was crazy and making things up and that it's none of my business because I wasn't his girlfriend. So obviously this person was extremely gaslit by him and told that he loved her for so many months and that they were together and things, but in fact he was talking to multiple women, and they actually end off by saying that they've talked to multiple friends in the LA music industry, that he has physically harmed 2 of his exes as well. So that's not cool at all. They also shared a photo of Paul, I believe getting a tattoo, I guess to prove that they were with him back in May 2019. And if you guys look over here at the screen cap from Instagram, he asked this person to send 100 inappropriate pictures. I have to block it out, but 100 inappropriate pictures with nothing on. Which is a bizarre request. It seems like this guy just believes that he's entitled to a bunch of different things, and that includes different women who are just out here trying to find love. Now let's talk about the fourth allegation. This person claims back in 2019 that they actually talked to Paul, and he wasn't really interested in asking this young girl who was 19 at the time how old she was. She thought he was maybe 25, but really he was 31, and she thought it was bizarre that he wasn't trying to disclose disclose that information, especially because his fan base is like 14 to 18 years old, a lot of young women, a lot of young fans. Here's the fifth allegation. It's from the year 2017, and they confirm that Paul is a creeper. They met him in early 2017 after one of his concerts. She actually tagged him in an Instagram story, and then he DM'd her, and then they ended up hooking up at his hotel. Then they went out to a bar. She claims after that night that he would not stop texting her and just never stopped texting asking her to come to LA, which she ended up doing many times, but he would never let her stay at his house. She would have to go and get an Airbnb. They claim they spent thousands and thousands of dollars traveling to see this dude because of the promises he would make me, saying we're going to get married and live together one day, that we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and I truly thought I was in love with this dude. Really, he just effed me up for almost 3 years. The power dynamic between celebrities and normal people is just not okay, because these people believe that they can go and manipulate others and get what they want because they're a celebrity and they can just find another person and find another person because there are endless amount of women who are interested in them. In this next allegation from 2019, they claim that Paul is a manipulative ABU, you know what I can't say on YouTube. He's extremely manipulative, and they claim they were in his rotation for a few months. I'll leave out a lot of details, but Paul is definitely a creep and not the good Christian guy he portrays himself to be. Not only has he done this to me, but so many other girls. I was slightly older, but still young, and many of them I know are younger. He does the classic narcissistic manipulative tactics, love bombs at first, where he invites you to a show and, you see him in a good light, he invites you over, talks about marriage really quickly, then ghosts you, but it keeps you intrigued. He also finds beautiful women he wants to do it with and then shames them for being looking hot online. He lies to everyone and keeps it all a secret and makes you feel like you're the most important and disregards you without warning. I know he was talking to a lot of people before his current girlfriend and is cleaning up his tracks right now. It's one thing to date. Almost everyone does. It's another to consistently go for vulnerable people and use your power over them to manipulate them while building your career off of young people and claiming to be something you're not. Do what you wish with this information, but I'll let you know that he's not a good guy. Wow. I really feel like that allegation, that message from this person really sums up like the problems with him, because he does take vulnerable people. He manipulates them. He makes them think that they're like, oh, so great. And at the same time, he's trying to keep this Christian facade, which I get it. I am from the Christian community. People love to be fake Christians and just like act like they're the good person because they speak, God's word, but it's not always good people. And they can use this as another manipulative tactic to make themselves look better by presenting themselves as a Christian. Let's go ahead and get into the seventh allegation. So this one is from 2019, and they claim this was wild to read, talking about Haley's thread, because I had the exact same experience with him last year and was so confused about it. Full on love bombing for months and then basically disappearing. It's horrifying to hear he's done this to so many other women. Disgusting. I was seeing him at the time that guitar tech situation happened, which we will talk about that towards the end of the video, and I also thought it was handled weirdly. But yeah, all it takes is some simple observation of him to realize pretty quickly his patterns with women are weird. We were introduced by a good friend of mine, so I trusted her that he was a normal guy and didn't look into it much at first, but I caught on pretty fast, luckily. I've watched a few women since then be pretty hurt by him, and it's literally the same exact behavior every single time. It's sociopathic. Our next claim against Paul Klein actually comes from an Instagram live. Someone commented, the lead singer from LANY is from my hometown and literally hit on me when I was 16, and he was a full-on adult. Paul is a creep. He was on my mission trip in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Again, these good Christians, just because they're on a mission trip or something like that, does not mean they're good. Like, trust me, I've gone on some Christian trips before, and there are still some bad people on those. This person in Allegation 9 claims that Paul has been up to this behavior since 2015. They share that they and Paul dated for 9 months back in 2015 when LANY started touring, and I can assure you that he's been this way since then. It's only gotten worse from the stories I've heard from recent exes. He is such an evil man and makes you feel like you're worthless without him. He makes you feel so bad for posting certain things or for past relationships you had before even knowing he exists. So it sounds like he's got some weird kind of insecurity where he shames other women for dating other people or liking other people or some type of intense jealousy. But they're really glad that this is coming to light because it can hopefully protect other girls. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is to show that this man may be trying to lead you on big time. Now on to Allegation 10. This went down from 2016 through 2018. The first time we hung out, I was in town from out of state. We were at a bar, drinking, forcing our separate friend groups to mingle while we flirted with each other in the corner. At one point, he pulled me by the waist and whispered in my ear, "Are you going to suck my tonight?" At this point, she was very drunk and incoherent, waving my hand in confusion. I had a visceral response of fear and shame. I felt panicked. We had never crossed that topic before. We hadn't even really touched before a few minutes prior. It took me years before I recalled that memory again, and I immediately felt recollection to that night at the bar in that city. I still remember what I was wearing and the way that he smelled. Was I going to have to fake my first? Yeah. So obviously he was a little bit aggressive there. I mean, not even a little bit, a lot of it. I don't know if there's any woman or women out there that would ever think that it's attractive for a guy to be like, "Oh, you're gonna do ew." Do you not understand that women operate in different ways? I even as a gay person, I know that. Now let's talk about our final allegation before we get into the wristband situation and then the other band members. So allegation 11 comes from a friend whose friend dated him, and it happened in 2018. They claim that they met after a show. Of course, that always happens. She's an influencer and a stylist. They went out for drinks after a show. A week later, he flew her to LA to live with him for a while. He would never hold her hand in public or wanted to be seen in public with her. He would go out the back door of a restaurant and she had to go out the front door. Same story. Randomly dropped her a plane ticket one morning at a breakfast and sent her home. Ghosted her, and a week later dating a famous model and actress. Ooh, I wonder who that is. He still texts her often, calling her the most beautiful girl in the world, even when he is with another girl. Will text, then ghost a few days later. They also claim that actually some of his exes and women in the music industry has gone ahead and liked this thread that we're pulling this information from, further confirming that this guy has some problems. Now let's go ahead and talk about the wristband controversy, because following the announcement of their 2021 tour, GGBBXX, Paul introduced the Pink Bracelet initiative for the tour. These bracelets are meant to single out fans who came to the show by themselves and therefore have no outside protection. So if you're going to these shows alone, there's a pink bracelet you can wear to show that you are alone and you have no one there to protect you. This is disturbing when you take into account that the LANY band and crew allegedly take advantage of their young female fans, which make up a majority of their fan base. Even after public opinion turned against this idea, Paul doubled down by posting the second screenshot to his story. The romantic aspect of this suggestion is definitely suspicious, to say the least, especially if you think about the fact that he likes to use other women's emotions against them. He's trying to act like he can go and find his future wife because they're going to have this pink bracelet on. It really seems like it's an opportunity for him to go see who he wants to pull out from the crowd after the show, because it looks like he likes to turn up and do some bad stuff after he finishes performing. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Louis Usher. He was the guitar tech and stage manager for the band since 2017, and he used his position within the LANY team to flirt and send uncomfortable DMs to fans who were sometimes underage. This person tweeted out, "You guys know, they had someone on their crew who was messaging underage girls and hooking up with them. I would know. He tried it on me before." Someone replied and said, "I thought that was the band Camino? How do you say that word? Camino? I'm sorry." They fired the guy instantly. This person replied back, "I saw that, but nope. Unfortunately, there was a dude on LANY's tour crew who preyed on underage girls. I was 17 when he first talked to me, and they haven't ever addressed it. They let him leave instead of firing him." That that person is right. Lewis did leave. He wasn't actually fired, but he wasn't leaving because he was talking to young girls. He left because he tweeted out some really disturbing things. Like this tweet where he writes, "Why do you guys presume I won't make out with you because you're underage? Silly, silly people." Again, talking about making out with an underage person and saying, "Why do you guys think I won't?" Because he will. In this tweet, he actually promotes like hurting yourself and wrote, "Twitter war. Girls go to great lengths for attention nowadays. Why can't they go and their wrists or fake a R word like the good old days?" Which is what? Why can't girls go and hurt themselves and go and fake an R word like the good old days? What are you talking about? That is such a sick thought. And on top of that, he uses slurs like against black people, which is never okay, and the word gay in a negative way. I don't know if I need to block this one out, but we're going to block it out for safety. These tweets led to Lewis leaving the team, and he tweeted out, "Anyway, just wanting to let you know I'm stepping down from my role with LANY effective immediately. Don't want them to get dragged down in this as well. That ain't fair." Which I guess that's good that he's leaving, but he's already done the damage. Paul has never directly addressed the situation, but he tweeted out that "you are heard, you are loved, you are valued, you are my world," the same day that he tweeted that out. So again, trying to save himself. Paul was messaging with a fan, and actually he was kind of like crapping on her because he was mad that his biggest fans are turning against him, using his lyrics against him, attacking his character, attacking his sister because of this situation, and that he's mad that these people are biggest fans rather than really trying to make a public statement and address the situation with his inappropriate guitar tech whose behavior is unexplainable. He said he did what he could do within his legal bounds, but I really don't believe that he wanted to go against his friend. And by friend, I mean friend, because they were friends before they went on tour and got really big. And actually the guy Lewis has a new Instagram, and a bunch of the members from the band follows it, so he's trying to stay off the radar, and it looks like Paul just never wanted to go and disavow him because they're good friends. So you'd think that these people would want to stay far and far away from him because of that, but really they just want to save face. Now let's talk about Josh. He is actually a drum tech for LANY. He has a history of trying to go and flirt with fans and actually sending them photos of himself that they did not want in the first place. This person claims that he would Snapchat them and send them pictures of his D, and he has a wife, and would always say not to talk to Paul but to talk to him. That's bizarre. And actually there was a little note in the Google Doc that said, "This is not the only story surrounding Josh and his position with the band, but most of his victims are not ready to speak out publicly about their situation yet." So there's supposedly more on this dude, but we don't know yet. Now let's go ahead and talk about some of these tweets that were sent out by a former team member who worked closely with LANY for about 2 years. They wrote, "If you support Paul Klein or any other group associated with them, please unfollow me. You're inconsiderate, clout-chasing social climber with bad taste and parents' money." Ooh. Crazy how many people still be supporting men in this industry that have been outed for their manipulation and ABU. The fact that I have been ostracized by a good portion of the music industry for talking out about these things, so whack. You should possibly do a quick search on your favorite bandmates and who they follow. Quite interesting. And keep in mind, guys, this was just tweeted out a week ago, 2 weeks ago in July 2021. So this is ongoing. And like I mentioned earlier, I do believe that we need to look at this as a collective thing with LANY, because LANY just seems like they encourage toxic behavior and culture in their business, on their sets, at their shows. I mean, here's a whole picture of the whole cast and people who work behind the scenes. And do you see any women? Nope, it's just all these guys looking for some young girls to come and hang out with them. Allegedly. But it does worry me that these people aren't trying to take accountability for this, because Paul's over here just limiting comments and blocking out certain words so that people don't see what other people are commenting about these allegations, and nobody's bringing them to light. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about their merch, because it seems like this band has an issue with taking other people's ideas, not crediting them, and then just selling them to their fans. So there was was a design that was sent out by a fan in 2019 of some possible merch for LANY. They tagged both Paul and the LANY account, and someone must have saw it because those designs were just taken from that fan and just sold on the store without any credit or acknowledging the fan in the first place. Here is the design that was tweeted out in 2019, and as you guys can see, it says I heart LANY. LANY is for lovers, which honestly the first one's really good because if it's LA and New York, it's like I heart LA and New York. It was a good idea, and as you guys can see, they took that idea and sold it for $30 on a t-shirt without crediting that person at all. They've also done this to another fan and small business who actually sent Paul a necklace that says LANY on it. As you guys can see, he took the necklace and he was actually wearing it right away. So that's cool that a fan would make something like that for him. But Paul saw this as a business opportunity because then they ended up selling their own version of that necklace on their website, which again, just taking that person's idea, not giving them any credit or acknowledging that they created something cool and that you're inspired by it. So there are obviously some problematic things when it comes to Paul and LANY, and I think the emotional manipulation is definitely something that Paul needs to work on because that's not going to get him far in the industry, especially if he's got famous exes who are tweeting out against him, and I'm sure Dua Lipa would not support this. Actually, there was one story circulating around where people thought that she was talking about him, but I can't confirm if that's actually from Dua Lipa or not, but I do encourage anyone who has actually experienced this with him to speak up because we just went through a Google Doc with a bunch of evidence, but at the end of the day, we don't really know who these people are, whether these are like legit, even though I believe them. I trust Haley and I trust these other people putting together this information, but I'm just like, I don't understand why LANY is so protected. Like, is it because they're just like not super big? I mean, they're big enough where I think that people should know this about them, but why aren't any other news sources or YouTubers or anyone talking about these allegations? So I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Comment below because I need some help processing this. And until next time, I will see you guys in a new video soon. Bye, guys.